as it comes closer, I was doing sound for everyone who's on the tour. And they said, yeah, we've got this guy opening for Fetty Wap. His name's Post Malone. And I was like, who the hell is Post Malone?
Yeah. Little did you know, one day.
Yeah. So after I went on that tour, I met a mentor on that tour. And she's the person who, after that tour, was like, hey, you want to make records, you probably got to put in some time in LA.
Today on Loves Music, we have Ali McGuire, better known as AMAC. Ali is a sound engineer who's worked in the studio with artists like Lizzo, Fetty Wap, Joji, and also did the live engineering for Post Malone and Fetty Wap's tour. She has an album of her own coming out called On One, which is accompanied with a workbook. The workbook is about helping artists navigate their mental health as they're trying to kick down the doors of the music industry. This is a really interesting conversation, and I'm sure you're really going to get a kick out of it. Up next, Ali McGuire. Ali, thank you so much for joining me on Loves Music. It is so good to connect with you after such a long time.
For sure, Julian. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to get into this.
Yeah. So first off, where do we even begin? Because you've had your career. It would take us like a month worth of podcasts to talk about everything that you've accomplished in the music world. But let's start with the most current. The new album, On One. You gave me a sneak peek to it. Love it. If you're looking for your traditional, boom bop, trap music, party records, it's not that. The message is super positive. I mean, it's almost like a love letter to creativity and making things from a place of authenticity, being aggressively yourself, making art that's not predicated on accolades and social validation. Do I have that message correctly when we're talking about this new album you got coming out with, or what am I missing here?
No, that was actually pretty good. And because I didn't even really tell you a lot about it. So I'm like, yeah, the message is getting across. What I always say about this album and the process, we're going to get into is this is how I alchemized my pain. Honestly, this is a love letter to my pain.
Oh, love that.
And I really, I wanted to make positivity cool. That was a really important aspect of it, because a lot of times positive music can be so corny.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And people are like, that's why, a lot of the more, negative stuff or party records and things like that, you don't have to think too much. And it's like, I don't want to be corny, So I really wanted to do that. I feel like I accomplished it, and alchemized my pain.
You're so right. There's something very, very warm and inviting about dysfunction. So anytime somebody tries to put a positive spin on something, you're like, am I about to get taught? Am I back in middle school again, getting lessons taught to me? So it's not that. It's fun. If you want to talk about actual, technical prowess, it sounds great. The music's current. There's something I wanted to point out. There's an androgyny to it, right? You hear female rapper, you're talking about a female who's going to be mad at guys and a female that's going to be talking to women. And it's not that. There's an androgynous energy to it where it's like you are talking to anybody who's a creative, old, young. It's ageless. I feel like in my 40s, I can relate to it. I feel like a 17-year-old girl at the mall can pick up this record and be just as impacted as I am, and everybody in between.
Thank you so much for saying that. And yeah, it's been really crazy. I've performed it in front of, a multitude of different generations even. And to see people who, would kind of be like, ooh, 808s, auto-tune. I'm not into that. Being uplifted by it is really, one of the coolest things that I've experienced.
And I think that you solidify it as not just a piece of art, but also a growing tool by accompanying it with a workbook. Can you talk about how On One almost marries itself with the Inner Compass workbook, without giving too much of the secret sauce away?
For sure. So the Inner Compass, it does accompany the workbook. Right. It's all part of it. I tell my story of healing throughout this workbook, and then I include the tools that I used to answer my questions for myself. It's really important that I say, I don't have any of the answers for anybody, because all the answers lie within who we are. This isn't about like, follow what I did and you're going to have the same outcome. It's just have your own story, right? And know that somebody else walked it and I'm walking with you. And I hope these tools help you. And that is why I included the album and the workbook together, right? Because people connect to different mediums on different levels. So some people are going to like read this and that's really how they connect. Some people are going to do the exercises and they're really going to connect. But some people are going to hear my record and they're going to connect because not only, it's one thing, right? When you read, you're kind of making up the sound, the imagery for yourself, right? But when you listen to this record, you can feel me. You can feel what I was going through at all of these stages. You could feel my pain. You could feel my joy. You could feel my sadness, right? So I just want to connect in as many ways as possible to let you know you're okay even when you're not okay and you're not alone.
I felt that as well, too. I felt like it's not just, I don't want people to think it's like some teaching album. What it really is a story. The same way that hip hop is autobiographical, the same way it's vulnerable, the same way there is pain intertwined with like real life. It's that. So I don't want people to think they're just getting up, like, they're just getting like a whole album of like lessons, It is a lot of fun. You know what I mean? You do nod your head to it. Like I said, they're not party records as in like turn up records, but you do move to it. You know what I mean? It's a vibe. It's a whole vibe. So I just want to make sure I'm like representing it correctly. Because I mean, line for line, it's a solid hip hop album. It's a great hip hop record. You know what I mean? You should be very proud of it. And can give us the date for that. By the time this airs, I believe it should be out. January 13th is when we can start downloading it.
Yeah, absolutely. January 13th is when it comes out. Super excited. I've been working on these things for 2.5 years, and I'm just really excited to get it out for the people.
Awesome. And this is the culmination of an incredible story, an incredible career. And I'd like to kind of bring people back to the beginning. You're Philly born and bred. You can kind of hear it in the raps too. I mean, there's a little bit of like trap and boom bop influence, but it's definitely like you got like an East Coast twang in there. And you're a Philly girl through and through. Take me back to the beginning. Whereabouts were you kind of born and raised?
I was born in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And then I moved to South Philly when I was 19 years old.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And what was you have a great story. I'm gonna let you tell it. Tell me about the moment that made you fall in love with music.
The moment that made me fall in love with music is when I think I was maybe about 12 years old. I was hanging out with my friend and we were watching the movie Hardball with Keanu Reeves. Do you remember that movie?
Yes, I'd be aging myself, but yeah, I think I might have saw it in the theater actually.
Yeah, it's always funny because I tell this story in a lot of my speeches and I always ask the audience and, I get one or two stragglers. I'm like, man, you guys, G baby.
Yeah, right?
So in the movie Hardball, the pitcher in the movie, so Keanu Reeves is coaching a young baseball team. And the pitcher, he can't pitch well unless he's listening to Big Papa by the Notorious B.I.G.
Right.
And that was the first time that I was ever exposed to Biggie. And like my life was just changed in that moment. As soon as it was over, I ran home, Napster was popping. I'm aging myself too. And I went and, I stopped phone calls from coming through my parents' phone lines for like 24 hours to download every Biggie song that there ever was. And it's like crazy when I think about it. Like, you ever think, Biggie would have thought he was making music for me?
No.
Like this little white girl from Allentown, Pennsylvania, right? But, I felt the pain and the hope in Biggie records. Like,
it's so funny. Yeah.
It's crazy, but that's why you never know where music is who it's gonna reach. Yeah. That's why it's so incredible. And it just made such an impact on my life. I just knew myself better and I fell in love with hip hop. Like I'm a real hip hop head. I'm not over here pretending, you know what I mean? Like one time I was in the same place as Grandmaster Cass. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know who Grandmaster Cass is? Okay, right. So he's like one of the creators of hip hop for those that do not know.
Right.
And I was so nervous. I stood next to him for like 10 minutes, could not speak to this man. One of the biggest regrets of my life was not just saying, yo, what's up? You're Grandmaster Cass. That's crazy.
Like you're the guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I fell in love with hip hop, and I fell in love with music then because of the impact that it had on my knowing of myself.
Was there a moment that you said that you made a shift between, I love this art form, and then you're like, oh no, I'm going to turn this into a lucrative career?
You know, it's really crazy because like when I look back, I can kind of see it, right? But I didn't even start music until I was 19 years old. Me and my friends called each other cats. Let's not get into why we had Cat Day and what that was all about, right? But my nickname was DJ Cat. I used to make all the mixtapes for all the parties. You know, I was on all the hip hop sites, music sites, like the new underground stuff that was coming out. So I was always curating music. And again, I loved hip hop. And I asked my parents when I was like 15 for an MPC, but they were just like, no, you quit everything. And I'm just like, I quit baton because I didn't want to do a baton, guys, but I'd love an MPC, please.
Right.
But they were just like, no, you quit everything. And yeah, but I just loved music this whole time, curating it and all of that stuff. And eventually I was going to school to be a journalist at the community college out here. And I just was failing everything, no matter how hard I tried. One time I worked so hard on this paper, I turned it in. I was like, there's no way that like I've got less than a B on this thing. I got it back. And I failed it again. So without telling anyone, I went to the administration office and I dropped out of college that day. And I got in my car. I still lived with my parents at the time. And I was like, I'm gonna like just have to have some kind of idea about what I'm gonna do here. And I was like, well, you know, I wanted to make beats that one time. And I had one tattoo at the time, and it was Biggie lyrics that say, stay far from timid, only make moves when your heart's in it, and live the phrase, sky's the limit.
I love that you have that in perpetuity etched on your body.
No, me too. It's directed a lot of the decisions of my life, honestly. And yeah, I was like, all right, yeah, I'm going to do that. Got out of my car, went to the library, and I looked up music production. And it's crazy because I don't think in that moment I even knew what an audio engineer was, but I ended up going to audio engineering school instead of like production and beat making. And then and then I did it.
So from the time you decided to drop out of school to the time you told your parents, what was it like telling them when you were like, yeah, you know that journalism thing I was doing? Yeah, 86 that.
Yeah, we're not doing that anymore. I mean, you know, it's funny because I think about this a lot and I'm like, I really don't remember most of that conversation. But what they basically said to me was, you can do whatever you want. We're just not going to help you do it.
Wow.
And I was like, all right, sounds good. Thanks.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I wasn't looking for assistance. I was just letting you guys know. So yeah, all right.
I mean, I had made the decision anyway. Like I dropped out of college. Like there was no.
Right. I guess there's nothing they can do at that point, right?
No.
Yeah, like the train already left the station, guys. So all right, so take me to you kind of like stepping into the music scene. And I know that part of your story is a testament to just how well you network too. I always have this joke about music. I was like, people underestimate the value of likability. You will get far in this industry sometimes just by being a good hang, you know? And I think that your ability to network and work with people outside of obviously your talent and skill and everything was also a huge part of your success too, as you explain in your story. Take me to that like early stage when you're just knocking on doors, trying to get into places, trying to get into jobs, like those places.
Sure. And that's really what I did. I didn't know anyone who did music professionally at the time that I decided that that's what I was going to do. And that was like 2009 after I got out of school. And then now I was in South Philly, right? And there wasn't, like Instagram didn't even exist yet. So we had Craigslist and I used Craigslist, which is like wildly unsafe. You gotta understand, when I'm like 20, 21 years old, I look like I'm like 13.
Wow.
And I'm just running, I'm answering Craigslist ads. I'm just running all over Philly by myself, like doing anything.
Just consumed by like blind optimism. Like, I'm just chasing a dream. I'm just chasing a dream.
None of these people have bad intentions, like at all. No, of course not.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did. You know, I had some fake jobs along the way. If I'm being honest, people trying to get me to scam other people out of money, but I was just like, anything to try to figure this out. And part of the story is, so at the time, I was also a drunk. Okay, I spent like the first 2 years being in Philly, drinking. People were like, what did you do when you got to Philly? It was like, I drank. While I was doing all of this, but I stopped when I was 23, and I was had run out of like all of my money, and I got a job at a Jimmy John's. Went in one day and walked out and was like, I'm certainly never going to do that again.
Right.
And I was like, I'm just going to figure out how to make music happen. I'm just going to figure it out. And about a week later on Craigslist, there was an ad that said, we have an opening for an upstairs front of house engineer. We'll basically take anyone who will accept $60 a night. And I was like, all right, me, and I lived like a 10-minute walk away from Dobbs. So the legendary Dobbs is where it was. Yeah. They brought me in. Because I was like, I'm an audio engineer already. I had like done live sound twice before in my life and not very well, but they didn't need to know that. No. And I went and I told them, look, guys, I don't care if there's a blizzard, if it's open and the bands are coming, I will be here. They were going to interview some more people. I told them, don't interview anyone else. I don't need a second person. I will take every single gig that there is here. Like, this is my job. And they gave it to me, and that's what started everything. Nice.
And this is 2011, you said?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so this makes sense. So now I'm like 2 or 3 albums in to see where like our paths like cross. I'm like 2 or 3 albums in. This is like my like creative renaissance. I'm like an adult, just like doing shows, like trying to scotch tape shows together while I'm working like full-time jobs. And like when we wanted to like do a show, it's like, oh, you got to like sync up with Allie if we're going to do like a bigger show downtown. Like I probably wasn't good enough to just like headline like Dobbs by myself. But we do like like 4 or 5 of us, or like a Jay Griffey or Scholar or one of them, or Scalito now. When they played Dobbs, they'd be like, all right, like we're getting Allie to do sound. And it was like a big deal. And that place was known for having great, just great sound, good vibes. So your reputation was already kind of like circulating after you had been there for about, it couldn't have been more than a year. Because I was done by the time I was like 33, 34. So like it had to been like right when you were kind of like climbing up, you were already starting to kind of like have a name for yourself.
It was really crazy how fast it happened for me. I was working at other venues after being there for 4 months all over the city. Like, I mean, even when we keep going through this journey, there's no better opportunity that I ever got than working at Dobbs. It followed me to LA from connections that I made there and how my entire life played out. But yeah.
Let's talk about that transition. So from Dobbs to LA, was there a hiatus there, or you went from Dobbs and then I think you made an acquaintance? I don't want to like retell your story, but you made an acquaintance that kind of took you to LA, and then you got the big the live engineering gig as well. Can you walk through that transition with us?
What happened was, so I was at Dobbs and all over Philly for like 5 years, but I was also touring with an act that I was producing and recording at this time. It's so funny to think about that because like I really thought I was a professional recording engineer, but LA had taught me differently. But yeah, I was out with the artist that I was working with, and I got a call. And this is so funny because the only reason, I don't know if you ever met Barb Adams. Mm-hmm. She was like the only other woman engineer in Philadelphia at the time. And originally she just called me off of word of mouth to do a show she couldn't do. And that's how my relationship with her started. And a couple of years later, I was out on tour with an artist when she called me and just asked me if I wanted to do front of house for a rapper. That's what she said. And at this time, I was really trying to get out of the situation that I was in. And on that tour, I was like doing literally everything but sound. And I was like, yes, whatever it is, I don't care. I'm going on this tour. And she called me back about an hour later, and this is 2016. And she said, well, the tour is actually for Fetty Wap. And I was like, oh. And at this time, Fetty Wap he was the guy. There were multiple songs in the top 10.
Trap Queen, Come My Way.
Yeah, lots. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Why not?
Yeah.
And that's how I got that gig. And it's funny because as it comes closer, I was doing sound for everyone who's on the tour. And they said, yeah, we've got this guy opening for Fetty Wap. His name's Post Malone. And I was like, who the hell is Post Malone?
Right, yeah. Little did you know, one day.
Yeah. So after I went on that tour, I met a mentor on that tour. And she's the person who after that tour was like, hey, you want to make records, you probably got to put in some time in LA. And that is what inspired me to then move across the country.
Okay. So now did it feel like you almost started from scratch? Like you had built this network in Philly. You had been all over, and Philly's not just Philly. Like for anybody who's like listening, even like the suburb scene was good. Like we had places like Reed's, Whiskey Tango, where like national acts will come out to these spots, like in like Abington, PA, which are like 30 minutes from Center City, and there'll be 3,000 people in the building. So it wasn't just Philly. Like you were like regionally like doing shows all over. Seen you at a couple of those places. So you already have this network in Pennsylvania. You're like, all right, did it feel like you were just starting all over again? Like in LA, like I'm basically starting from scratch and getting to meet people and trying to, knock my way and kick down the doors into certain rooms or.
It was exactly like that. I was fortunate. My brother actually lived in LA already. So I got to at least move in with him. But yeah, when I got out there, I had no idea what I was going to do. I just knew my live sound resume was really good.
Mm-hmm.
So I leaned into that. There's also an organization called Sound Girls. And at the time, they were very live sound heavy organization. Any organization focused on music, like there's going to be a large chunk of them that are going to be in LA.
Right.
So I leaned on that a little bit. Just anyone, it's the same thing. I used Craigslist, everything. I'm going to meet with anyone who is willing to talk to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did.
And it led to some pretty significant projects. I know you would never drop these names unless you were asked, but can you do a humble flex real fast? Because I know you got platinum records to your name. You work with some major artists, just to give people an idea of just how solidified you are in the game.
Sure. So I've worked with artists like Joji, Murder Beats. I did eventually get in the studio with Fetty Wap again, which was a cool full circle moment. PNB Rock, Lizzo, Kelly Rowland, many others that I can't remember. I worked for Atlantic Records and Good Music, lots of things.
And like a lot of these stories go, you kind of reach the top of the mountain, and then it's kind of like, well, now what? And then you start to take inventory of, your mental health, your personal health, what you want to do, how you want to live. You explain it so eloquently in your talk about, okay, well, what do I want my life to look like? I know I'm doing the work, but what do I want life to look like? And that work becomes your identity, right? And that's kind of like the full circle basis of like how we got here today, where it's, you've been at the top of the mountain. There's people all looking up at you, wishing that they could do what you did. And you're like, not all it's cracked up to be. Can you talk about that dichotomy of like, yes, you sacrifice all this comfort to reach success, and then you get all the success and you're kind of uncomfortable?
To say the least.
Yeah.
The entertainment business, the music industry, all of that stuff, the way that it's portrayed is incredibly glamorous. Even when people talk about the tough stories, I still feel like it is glamorized.
Mm.
And all the stories of, I had to live in my car, I had to do this. And it's like, listen, I'm not knocking that. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But let's not glamorize being homeless and living on the street. Like,
right.
How can we support our art as we figure out how to make it,
yes,
our money and stuff like that? And talking about there's so many toxic narratives in music and the entertainment industry. It's insane. It's like people tell you to make this your entire identity. You cannot take a day off. If you don't take a session, somebody is going to take it from you. It's like just this ruthless thing. And I get it. You got to work hard, all of that stuff. When I first started getting calls to go to studios, I mean, I would wake up at 8 a.m, take a shower, and just like be ready. Like wherever I was, who was ever going to call me, like I was going to do that. But when you make one thing your entire identity, when like somebody brought this up the other day, and if I'm being honest, I'm still not 100% sure how to answer it. But it's like, who are you without your career? And your career is part of you. It's a huge part of you. But when you're only solely focused, I was just so focused on an outcome that it didn't matter what the experiences were that I was having, right? Because the outcome was the most important thing. Even if I was in, a disrespectful, even abusive, traumatic situation with people, and especially, my childhood mirrors how I acted inside of the music industry a lot. I knew how to take hits and keep going. It didn't matter, like, if I was bleeding out, right? Like, I could keep moving. And I'm going to be here. It's going to look cool. That's going to get me to where I want to go. Like, I know so many creatives, myself included, that were so excited. Finally, this project drained me. It didn't treat me well. A lot of messed up shit happened in it, but I get to post it on my Instagram now, and people are gonna think that I'm successful and cool. But if you talk about the experience that they had, it's not really good.
Right.
Not to say that, I had no good experiences. Of course, I had great experiences, especially the platinum record back there. Like, that's from Joji.
It's not nothing. Yeah.
But that's from Joji and 88 Rising. Incredible people, incredible record label, so there were so many good experiences I had too. I traveled the world. I got to do all of this crazy stuff, but I lost myself in the pursuit of an outcome.
I've been kind of fascinated with this concept of unteachable lessons, right? And it's like you see somebody with a Lamborghini, and they're like, hey, the Lamborghini isn't everything. And it's like, well, I still have to get the Lamborghini to realize the Lamborghini isn't everything. You can't just accept the fact that, like, hey, all those things don't mean anything. It's like, it's almost like The Alchemist. You have to go on the journey to realize that what was here all along was the most important thing. But being here and realizing it isn't the same as going on the journey and coming back and realizing it wasn't the most important thing.
Tell me, like, I get it, but I'm curious about what does like unteachable lesson mean? Like
the people you're talking about, like they're looking for this joy. Like, oh, once I hit this benchmark, you know what I mean? Once I hit this benchmark, I'm going to be happy. Hey, once I get this cosign on this one piece of content, I'm going to be happy, And then they get it, and it's like, and it doesn't fill the void. It's like you don't know it's not going to fill the void until you do it, and then it doesn't fill it, and you're like, oh. Now I can like recalibrate what's actually important.
Sure. But I also think that that's not what we're being taught.
Right.
Okay. The definition of success in the dictionary is fame, accomplishments, and money.
Right.
Like, one of my goals, what I want to do is redefine success. Like, success is enjoying your life. The only dream worth living is enjoying your life. Because we're just here for an experience. Like, you know what I mean? Everything is temporary. Your joy, your sadness, your life, everything. Where you are sitting right now, where I am sitting right now, all the things that are in this room, including us, will not be here one day. So what am I doing chasing after this outcome, and I don't enjoy it? It doesn't make any sense. So when you talk about, the unteachable moment, or you have to go through things. I had a kid ask me one time, he said, do you think that you can tell me this story, you can teach me this stuff, and then I'm going to be able to avoid all of this? And I said, of course not, bro. This is life. This is life. Life is always going to come for you, and it's going to hit you really, really hard in the face. But if I'm teaching this to you, if I'm just telling this to you, you don't even have to understand it in this moment, but you have been made aware of this knowledge, that it's going to be like, yeah, I might have to touch this oven burner to know that it's hot, but you're only going to have to touch it one time. I had to touch it like 100 times, right, to understand that it was actually hurting me. Yeah, no one ever said any of this stuff to me, so I just trying to put it out there. So
I mean, this narrative is still fairly new too. I mean, people just now are starting to look at success with this level of like introspection. And we've been devouring content for what, 15, 20 years now, you know? So sure. Can I read you something that you said that I thought was absolutely brilliant?
Sure.
You said, just to give you a little bit of context, you were talking about how people need there's like this narrative that you need pain to create great art. And you said, you don't need suffering to make great art. Yes, heartbreak makes great albums, but don't live in it forever. Heal and make great albums about that. I thought that was brilliant when you said it. Like I got like the chills kind of, because for the longest time, I think people put their dysfunction on a pedestal and kind of polish their dysfunction to look like partying or being fly or being attractive or being promiscuous in an attractive way, you know? And they kind of shine it up, but it's still dysfunction, you know? But they're like, well, that's who you have to be if you want to be rapper, rock star, fill in the blank. Can you lend any more background to that narrative?
Oh my gosh, I could talk about this forever. So yeah, I can. So that's why I talk about how this is how I alchemized my pain. And I believe our job as artists in whatever medium you choose to do art is to explain how to alchemize our pain, how to go through it and what that journey is. But what happens a lot of the time, especially because now we have the pressure to sell records, right? And something has worked. So now people think without this pain, I don't have anything to say. So they don't go through it. They don't alchemize it and they stay inside of it, believing that they'll never have anything to say again. Like the tortured artist, right? You've heard about the tortured artist and how important it is to be a tortured artist.
Right.
Like, no, dog.
Yeah, right. Get healthy. Get healthy and make songs.
Right. Because again, like life, something else is going to happen to you if you allow it. But I think when you look at a lot of the artists who told you that they were going to take their own life or they were going to go to jail or, you know, any of the other things that happened to them is because they didn't move through it. They didn't grow. They stayed stuck in there because someone also told them that that's where they had to stay. But that's why I talk about, you know, the finding your worth, because just like me, right? Like so many artists are looking for validation and for their worth. Because we talk about when I fell in love with music, but why did I also need to fall in love with music? Why did I need to be saved by music? And I think about all the times people say music saved my life. I'm in these situations in the studio and, you know, it's not a good situation, but I'm still thinking, you know, music is like my protector. Music saves me. Music is here in this room. So as long as music is here, I'm going to be okay. And music is great. It's beautiful. It's helped me in a million ways, but music is not going to save my life. There's only one thing on this planet that could save my life, and it's me, right? So using that as kind of like the shield and stuff like that, instead of allowing ourselves to like really go through it and really see and really feel what's really happening to us.
There's something else that's awesome too. There's something else that you talk about, and I think this is a little bit more complex, and I don't know if we can completely unwrap it, but it's the dichotomy between the pursuit of excellence and perfectionism. And you say this other thing, you're like, yeah, caring is cool. Like you're supposed to care. You have this line, perform the task like it's the most important thing in the world, knowing that it just doesn't matter. And if you just gloss over it, you're going to miss it. But that is so important because people would be like, oh, then just be cool, man. Just make cool music for yourself. It's like, well, no, I want to make excellent music. But you also want to make good music without perfectionism. Like how do you balance that dichotomy?
You just have to know that your worth is not tied to it.
Right.
All right. Like I made this thing. I'm really proud of it. If people like it, great. If they don't, great. I get to continue on with my life. I don't have to
Right.
be like, oh, I'm a failure. I'm this, I'm that. It's even with mixing records, like just because someone didn't like my mix, one, didn't even mean it was a bad mix.
Right.
Just meant it was not the mix for them. Doesn't mean that I'm a bad engineer. Definitely doesn't mean that I'm a bad person.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I also there's the 3 ways to kind of think about stuff like that. And you're either like, oh my gosh, I'm no good, or this person doesn't know what they're talking about. Or you get curious and just like see what you can learn and be more how can you be more creative in the situation, and what can you take with it moving forward. And, I've been all of those things, and I'll probably still be those things again. I catch myself maybe and I'm like, oh, you're being a little petty, Allie, chill out. Get curious, kid.
Right. So when you see somebody, and especially when somebody's just starting out, I mean, you got stripes in the game, but the next person that's coming behind you who has nowhere near the experience is like, well, I understand that to be successful, it's going to take an inordinate amount of effort. How do I gauge the difference between, oh, this is just difficult, or I'm working myself to exhaustion? Like, where's the Mendoza line there?
I think it's about learning to listen to your body. A lot of us are just here. We're just in our head, and our head is running the show. And that's not really who we are. That's a accumulation of all the things that other people have kind of said to us. But like for me, because I'm still very ambitious on what I'm trying. I want to be performing this album and this speech and this show. I want to be doing this in stadiums. I want to hear 40,000 people together say, I'm okay. I'm okay. You know what I mean? Because that's going to heal me more every time it happens.
Right.
And everybody there, right? But every single day, I have things I want to get done. And I'm going to tell you that I fail every day at getting all of those things done. Every single day, without fail. Sometimes I just got to take a nap at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
There's days you gotta push through, but I just listen to myself, because at the end of the day, if I push myself to exhaustion, I'm not going to be able to finish any of these things. I'm not going to be consistent and disciplined. I actually saw this post today, and this person said, sometimes you have to ignore how you feel so you can be disciplined. And I replied to that, and I'm like, absolutely not. We're never going to ignore how we feel. I'm going to acknowledge it. That doesn't mean that how I feel, I'm going to feel that way and I'm going to do the thing, but then I'm going to give myself some space later to see what it's about and feel how I need to feel, because now I need to make space in my schedule for what is going on always.
So knowing what you know now, right, so to kind of compare the two. So what does a bad day look for you today versus, when you were in the thick of it? And how do you manage it differently today versus when you were not as, emotionally aware as you are now?
Well, what do you mean by bad day?
So when you're in the early morning or late night alone, and you're wrestling with whatever insecurities or fear you're facing from circumstances that happen within that previous 24 hours.
Well, today, I just always know that what I did was enough. I don't really see things as necessarily bad. I may have had tough days. I may have had challenging days. And, there's a lot of devastating things that can happen throughout life. But I'm grateful for all of it now. Success to me looks like being able to hold 4 emotions at the same time. Being grateful for grief, even when I have to go through that, when success might be happening. Joy might also be happening while I'm grieving, and to be able to have joy and grief at the same time is a crazy, crazy thing. So what I'll say is how it looked different. Like, I was incapable of gratitude. Like that, I could not be grateful for anything. I remember one time I was with one of my best friends, and like this is at the height of everything, and I'm just telling him how much I don't like my life. And this is not, the first time that I'm telling him this by any means, but this is like the last time. He can't take it anymore. He's like, "Allie, like I can't listen to you talk about your life like this. And like, have you looked around lately? Like, have you looked around the room that you're sitting in, the house you're in, the view you have, the things you have hanging on your wall? Do you know how many people would kill for this life? How many people work their whole lives to have what you have?" And I couldn't be grateful for any of it because it didn't bring me what I wanted it to bring me. But I don't look for things to bring me anything anymore because I already have it.
Such a good lesson. Wow. So if somebody wants to do music, what should be their North Star, and kind of using like the compass theme, like their magnetic north of like what they should be striving towards, if it's not worldly validation or a certain dollar amount or a certain accolade or a Grammy or whatever? What would be an ideal North Star? Everybody's going to have their own, but what would be ideal?
Good experiences. Good experiences, because getting a platinum record is dope. I'm not saying like don't strive to get these accomplishments.
Yeah, right.
Hell yeah, that's a really cool experience to have. Strive for good experiences with good people so it can be sustainable for you. Remember that the reason, well, I would say most of the reason any of us get into this is just because we want to do music every day. Like that's it. Because again, none of this comes with you. None of it comes with you. Might as well enjoy the experience. And there are so many ways to make it in this industry, right? Do it in a way where you enjoy your life and you're not just struggling all the time to get people to respect you or see you.
Absolutely. What is one of the best compliments that someone has ever paid you in your journey?
Man, somebody just said something to me recently, and I literally replied to them that was like the greatest thing anyone said to me, but I cannot remember for the life of me what that is. But I think the greatest compliment that, anyone can give me is that I made an impact on their life. That something was meaningful to them, that the thought of, I never thought about it that way before.
Right.
I think those are the things that mean the most to me, because this is my story, but I don't share it for me. I just want to share it to help other people.
I hear that. I know that we often talk about growth. Practically speaking, if there was a skill that you wish you could refine, you can point to one thing and be like, I want to get a little sharper at that. What would it be?
And this is something that I think about a lot, and it's asking more questions. I come across this so much because, we all do. This is happening to all of us all the time, right? But when we're talking, you're responding to me with the reflection of what has happened to you in your life, the way that you define a word. Like, I said what the definition of success is. That's not what success is to me. But if that's what you think the definition of success is, that's how you're replying back to what I just said. But that's not what I meant.
Got it. Okay.
Right? And, we don't ask each other enough questions about how we define things and what we mean. And we just reflect back our experience. So asking more questions to listen deeper and not to respond, not to react.
I like that. So in terms of short-term goals, what would you want the next 3 months to look like? And then long-term goals, what would you want the next 3 years to look like?
The next 3 months are going to be exciting because finally this album and the book is out, and I finally really have the product. And, I moved back to the East Coast in July. So it's been, 6 months of just getting settled and trying to build foundation. So I would really just like to now build on that. Just see, myself building more relationships with people, being able to speak more on these topics. And then, of course, still continuing to spend a lot of the time with people that I love. And it's, I'm a big hiker. Okay, I'm a big hiker, and it's tough because like right now my trail is covered in ice and I don't have spikes. So that is killing me. I do. I gotta get some spikes.
Yeah.
So more hiking and stuff like that. But yeah, 3 months. I would just like to see this thing I've been working so hard on in the background start to make the impact that I know it's going to have.
Certainly.
And in 3 years, we're going to be traveling all over the country, hopefully all over the world, doing this show, workshops, speaking. I'm going to have a team with me. I'm going to be paying them really, really well.
Nice.
One of my biggest goals is in my company. We're going to have 7 weeks of mandatory vacation every year, and you're going to get a stipend for that vacation. You must take it. You cannot not take it.
I love that.
When I go around, doing events and stuff like that, I always want the team. We're going to do the event, right? And then the next day I want to really be working inside of the community, not just showing up and doing a thing, but then like getting into the community. And then also hopefully having a couple days after that to explore wherever we are. All the touring I did, wake up at the venue, do the show, leave, wake up at the venue, do the show, leave, not
and the airport hotel. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Again, because I just want us all to have experiences and service. So yeah, I want to be hiking. I want to be performing, and
hiking, performing.
I want to be helping people. Yeah,
love it. What is something that you're proud of that's not related to music?
What is something that I'm proud of that it's not related to music? I mean, I'm proud of me.
Yeah.
Very, very, very proud of me. You know what? I'm about to show you this. Hold on, let me go get this. I'm very proud of this.
Okay, let's do it.
So hopefully I can get this on camera right. This is the first painting I've ever done that I like.
I love it. It's great. I didn't know. I'm only laughing because I didn't know what you were going to put up. And for whatever reason, like no matter what you put up, I was like, hey, it's going to be great. And then I didn't expect that.
Hit me up, guys. I'm also a painter.
Yeah, right. No, but because I always like to ask people, because like you said, like we can be so closely tied to like our art as our identity. So it's like one of my favorite questions I used to ask on the show was, tell me something about you that I wouldn't find out just from looking at your socials. And I get the awesomest answers. People will be like, I'll have some like, I had this, her name is Vikita. She was like a Hispanic, like almost like a reggaeton artist. And she's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm a really good ice skater. I'm like, that's awesome. Like I was talking to this other artist, Philly artist, Hispanic, does like a Spanish music, R&B, hip hop. And she's like, oh yeah, by the way, she's like, I'm great at lacrosse or field hockey. She's like, no. And I was like, oh yeah, you played field hockey. She's like, no, I am really good at field hockey. And I was like, nowhere on the socials, nowhere, anywhere. So I like to see like we're all rich tapestries of things, And I think sometimes our social media is always like, we just shine a light on that one thing. So I like hearing what other people are into. So you paint abstract art, which is great.
I paint abstract art. I like to do, it's kind of like actually a mindfulness technique of, I do it with coloring too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got it right here. So.
Yeah, there you go.
So what you do though is like, this is just me closing my eyes and drawing the outline, right? And that's what I did with the painting too. Okay. And then you just fill it in however you want to fill it in, and you just color and you just color and you paint. It's like, it's so great too, because when I'm doing this, especially with painting, like I'm not looking at my phone. I look for as many activities to possibly do to one, just be doing something like, especially art. I'm a really creative person. Something else I'm proud of, this set.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like I created a whole set where I live and all this stuff. I just love to be creative. So it's great. Like, that's why I'm like, I suck at painting. Okay. I suck at painting so bad. And I made something that I like. I was like, yes, this is what I can do. This is so
I love it.
fun, but just to be creative and have, again, like to do things that have no outcome other than doing them and being present inside of them.
Yeah.
Like that's
I
my
don't know what
jam.
that is about creatives too. It's like something about filling a space where there wasn't anything, whether it's with sound, whether it's a song, whether it's like a tune, whether it's a beat or something. You know, like I could walk into a room with me and Mikey. Mike Burchard, you might actually know him. Keyboardist for Split Decision, right?
Okay.
And so we're like, I'll walk in and then like there's nothing. It's just blank air. And then 4 hours later, I leave with a song. Something about that, I don't know, just hits me in the feels. You know, I think it's cool. If you could send a message to your 13-year-old self with all the knowledge you have now, but it has to be a tweet, so you only have like 160 characters or whatever. So 2-3 sentences, quick life lesson. What would you tell 12-year-old Allie?
You're not too much.
Yeah,
that's it.
Not too much.
You're not too much.
What do you mean?
I've always had big emotions, things that I didn't understand. Fortunately, I did the work and I kind of understand that stuff now. But I always just felt like I was too much being who I was. It was too much for other people. They couldn't handle it. I had to figure out how to, be less, take up less space. And I really carried a lot of shame around things that I didn't understand. But no, you're not too much. You're just enough. Be yourself, like man.
Yeah, rock and roll. I love it. Now people are going to see this and people are going to want to support you. If there was only one way, what's the single best way we can really support you and try to move this thing forward with you?
Just one, huh?
Yeah. Try not to overload. I mean, I'm sure we can reach you on your socials. You have your own site and everything. But if there's only one way to support you, we send everybody to the same spot, where would it be?
If there's only one way to support me, it would be to get the album and the workbook.
Yeah. Okay. Which will be available by the time you guys are seeing this. The album On One with the accompanying workbook is going to be available for you. There'll be links to it, I'm assuming, on all your socials. It'll be under AMACULENT, AMACULENT. And you can find that on Instagram. You're on Threads as well. Are you on Facebook?
Yeah.
And you have a YouTube channel as well, right?
Yeah. Immaculate Mindset.
Got it. Allie, I can't thank you enough for just sharing your life with us. I mean, we could have filled 4 or 5 more shows with all the crazy stories you have from the road and from touring and working with these great artists. So thank you for your honesty. Thank you for, your candidness with me, your thoughtful answers. And I hope you get everything you ever dreamed of. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Julian.
You're welcome. And to the rest of you, tune in with us every Thursday with a new episode from another great creative. And if you like what you've seen here so far, like, subscribe, and please tell somebody who loves music. Take care of yourselves.